Across its nearly 60-year history, Star Trek has created some of the most iconic and long-lasting stories ever seen on a screen. Indeed, part of what makes new Trek properties so iconic is that they are all linked in a unified Star Trek timeline, and thus each new movie or TV show only adds to the narrative started by Gene Roddenberry back in 1966. For the most part, all of these stories take place in the Prime timeline. There are, however, other realities. Star Trek's Mirror Universe and the Kelvin timeline are the two most prominent alternate timelines. The Mirror Universe, for example, has showed up in every era of Trek, from Star Trek, the original series, to Star Trek, Discovery, and the three movies in the Kelvin timeline arguably relaunched the franchise for the 21st century. The finale of Star Trek, Lower Decks, however, revealed that there are an infinite number of parallel realities alongside the Prime timeline, and episodes from across the franchise have shown what some of those timelines look like. Unfortunately, for the most part, those alternate realities have been essentially ignored after their episodes wrapped up. 1. Enterprise, Shockwave Parts 1 and 2. The Federation never forms because Captain Archer isn't there. Captain Jonathan Archer, Scott Bakula, has honors unmatched by any other Starfleet captain, and he deserves them given he was responsible for the creation of the Federation. During the events of Star Trek, Enterprise, however, Captain Archer did not know that the Federation was in his future. Shockwave explored an alternate timeline where Captain Archer didn't found the Federation, with the interesting twist that, due to Starfleet's Temporal Prime Directive, he couldn't know how the alternate timeline resulted from his actions. Unfortunately, this alternate timeline left Earth in ruins, making it somewhat uninteresting for Star Trek to revisit. 2. Enterprise, Stormfront Parts 1 and 2. Agents in the Temporal Cold War helped the Nazis in World War II. The Temporal Cold War plotline in Enterprise meant that Captain Archer encountered more alternate timelines than he had any right to expect when he set out to explore the galaxy. It seems obvious that the Temporal Cold War should end with yet another alternate timeline, this one intentionally created by the N'Akul, enemies of the Federation in the Temporal Cold War. The N'Akul first assassinated Lenin, then traded technology with the Nazis, leading to an invasion of North America when the Enterprise arrived. Unfortunately, the two-episode arc, Stormfront, does not reveal what the effects of the interference were in other parts of the timeline. The USS Enterprise was stuck in the 1940s, so the later effects on the Federation were not shown. However, Star Trek has explored other alternate timelines where the Nazis won World War II, so we can guess. In fact, the Enterprise Mirror Universe episode, In a Mirror, Darkly, suggests in its theme song that a Nazi victory was a core event in the history of the Mirror Universe. 3. Strange New Worlds, A Quality of Mercy. The Neutral Zone incursion leads to open war between the Federation and the Romulans. Since its opening episode, Star Trek, Strange New Worlds has been haunted by the eventual fate of Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount. The original series established decades ago that Captain Pike's life ends in tragedy when his body is destroyed by Delta radiation, and Strange New Worlds revealed that Captain Pike knew his future the whole time. It seems natural, then, that Strange New Worlds would include an episode where Captain Pike can see an alternate reality where he avoids his fate. Unfortunately for Captain Pike, everything is much worse if he remains the captain of the Enterprise. In this alternate reality, Captain Pike handles the Romulan Neutral Zone incursion, which Captain James T. Kirk, William Shatner, handled in the original series, leading to war between the Federation and the Romulan Star Empire. This version of reality is so dark that it is an older Captain Pike himself who travels through time to prevent this future. Given that this chain of events would destroy every other Star Trek property except Enterprise, it's no wonder this chain of events was left in the past. 4. The original series, The City on the Edge of Forever. Unless one innocent woman dies young, the Nazis conquer the world and the Federation never exists. Despite being the greatest episode in Star Trek, The City on the Edge of Forever features a reality that the franchise never revisited. After traveling back in time and falling in love with the 1930s pacifist Edith Keeler, Joan Collins, Captain Kirk realizes that unless she dies young, she'll kick off a chain of events leading to a Nazi takeover of Earth. While this isn't the only episode exploring a reality where the Nazis won, it is, perhaps, the most tragic. Even if none of the Star Trek shows doesn't return to this reality, the episode remains deeply impactful. 5. The Next Generation, Yesterday's Ent. In some ways, Star Trek, The Next Generation's episode, Yesterday's Enterprise, is unique among Star Trek alternate reality episodes. For one thing, Yesterday's Enterprise features none of the characters from the Prime universe of TNG. Sure, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, and Commander William T. Riker, Jonathan Frakes, are in the episode, but only as versions of themselves engaged in an all-out war with the Klingon Empire. What makes this version of the universe so interesting is that it reveals that the stars of the next generation are fundamentally themselves regardless of what reality throws at them. Captain Picard will always strive for a better future for Starfleet, even if reality itself has warped around him such that Starfleet is almost unrecognizable. Despite how interesting this reality is, however, it collapsed back into non-existence when the Enterprise C went back to its own time, Deep Space Nine, past tense parts 1 and 2. The Bell riots have to happen for the Federation to exist, no matter who Gabriel Bell actually is. Although Star Trek, Deep Space Nine had some of the most iconic mirror universe episodes in all of Star Trek, DS9's two-part story of the Bell riots in past tense reveals yet another alternate reality where, without the intervention of a Starfleet captain, the Federation will never have existed. What makes these episodes particularly interesting is the implication that the Prime Universe itself was changed by Captain Benjamin Sisko's, Avery Brooks, actions. At the start of past tense, the Bell riots were spearheaded by Gabriel Bell. By the end of the second episode, the Federation archives show a picture of Captain Sisko in Gabriel Bell's place. In other words, the entire history of Star Trek was overwritten by a version of events where Captain Sisko was a leader in the Bell riots. As such, it wouldn't make sense for Star Trek to revisit the alternate reality created in past tense explicitly, because all of Star Trek is now implicitly an alternate reality. For Perpetual Ensign Harry Kim, Garrett Wang, the alternate reality he encountered after a shuttle crash in Star Trek, Voyager's non sequitur was arguably better than the Prime Universe. Ensign Kim traveled to a reality where he had never been assigned to Voyager and so had to actively choose to find a way back to Voyager instead of staying, safely, on Earth because it makes other people's lives better. It's not that dissimilar to the Prime Universe, but Ensign Kim's brief trip to an alternate reality reveals the